That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about On the Rocks, the latest film directed by Sofia Coppola, which premiered at the 2020 New York Film Festival shortly before its release in theaters courtesy of A24. And then on October 23rd, it will be released on the Apple streaming platform.
This film is about a married couple played by Rashida Jones and Marlon Wayans.
Laura and Dean.
Laura and Dean have a nice life, like an upper middle class life. They live in the city. Laura is an accomplished writer who has sold her next book but hasn't written it yet. So she's a little stressed and down because she's experiencing writer's block. Dean has just started a company that I think is like in marketing or something because he's talking about followers and likes and engagement. So they're both preoccupied, and it seems like their marriage has hit sort of like a lull. So On the Rocks, obviously, it's precipitated by, in like one night, I guess they're both asleep, and she's awakened to Dean kissing her. And when he hears her voice, he stops. So she interprets that as like, well, maybe he thought, like he was dreaming and was hoping he was kissing someone else.
Whatever it was, she took it very personally.
So we find her communicating with a friend, trying to she's overthinking it. Little things start happening to the point where she thinks maybe he's cheating on her. Enter Bill Murray. So Bill Murray is
her father.
What's her character's name again?
She's Laura. He's Felix.
So Bill Murray plays Felix. Felix is Laura's father, and Bill Murray is being Bill Murray. I think he's magical in general, but also in this film.
Yes, he's very entertaining.
Yeah. So they seem to have a lovely connection. She shares with him. She's kind of concerned. Well, we hear her on the phone with him, explaining what he did, and the dad is like, well, he's probably cheating on you. So the bulk of the film is the dad having convinced Laura, like, let's spy on your husband. Let's follow him. Let's have someone follow him. Let's check his bank records. And they do.
But the glee with which they approach it is kind of like, oh, this is a father-daughter bonding experience.
We'll get to that,
okay.
But there are enough little things to keep this train going. And that culminates with, because Felix has Dean's bank statements and credit card statements checked and finds out that he's booked a trip to Mexico. Also, in the period we find them, it's Laura's birthday. And he's booked a trip during her birthday. So they, one night, like that night, just fly out to Mexico from New York to spy on him. And when they get there, he has already left. So that kind of adds more ambiguity as to like, what is he actually doing? When she returns home, she explains to him what she's been feeling and what they've been doing partially. And they have a very sensible conversation and seem to work it out. The end.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay. What do you want to say?
Okay. There was a lot I enjoyed enough about this. Of course, Bill Murray is being Bill Murray. This is the third time he's worked with Sofia Coppola. Of course, Lost in Translation netted him that Oscar nod in 2003, and they did a very Murray Christmas for television. Okay. Clearly, they have an affinity for one another, and it feels like it's a project that was born out of, as you were saying, I want to work with Bill Murray again, and we'll let him do this because he's kind of transcendent to whatever is going on. Rashida Jones is also being Rashida Jones a bit, but I don't dislike that. It's just both of their dynamics, even together though it works, feels very familiar. It reminded me, and this is very fleeting, of a Tony Erdmann dynamic about this father and daughter sharing a funk. Like, they're both kind of melancholy, cynical sorts, and that is where they... And
that's very fleeting, because that movie's very good. And
no, that's an excellent film. Yeah. I'm not saying this is a bad film.
No, you're not.
But that point of comparison about fathers and daughters bonding, and I think you can read into that a little bit with the creative element. You know, of course, Sofia Coppola and her own father, Francis Ford Coppola, I think might have had something to do with crafting that. It's always something she explores quite a bit. The movie she won Venice for, I'm forgetting the title. Sometime something with Stephen Dorff and Elle Fanning. Also mines similar territory. This is more entertaining than that, but also very light.
I think what works for me is Bill Murray. Like, he's just so entertaining to watch. What doesn't work for me is the...
Oh, we're already moving into...
Well, I don't know. I mean, the film's obviously, like, well done. It looks great. Like, everyone's performances are fine. Marlon Wayans has nothing to do.
True.
So, you know, it was an enjoyable film to watch. I just was a little confused by the characterization, particularly of Rashida Jones' character, Laura, because she seems very sensible. There's a scene early on where she finds a woman's toiletry bag in Dean's suitcase. So she's obviously upset by it, or she feels a way about it. They have an engagement that evening with Dean's work. So she keeps it together, like she goes, she's polite, she doesn't cause a scene. But as soon as they get into the car, she says to him very matter-of-factly, like, I want to ask you about this toiletry bag. And he explains, oh, it's my colleague's. She couldn't carry it on, so she asked me to bring it. That's the end of it. So she seems very sensible. And even the way she's communicating this information to her friends, her dad, there's a scene where she's with her grandmother, mother, and sister, and they're being very cynical. Like, your man's cheating on you. The bitch he's working with, if she's pretty, then she's definitely cheating on you. And even her reaction to that is like, she's being sensible. So it just seems so odd that this sensible person who can communicate well would go to such extremes.
But see, then I think that the weirdness of it is Bill Murray, she uses it as an opportunity to kind of go over some unresolved matters with her father because he left her mother in the lurch and had an affair, and kind of how the trauma that it invoked upon the family is also... I think she's attracted to seeing how her father reacts in this scenario too, and seduced by it because he's the one that's saying, "Oh yeah, this behavior is cheating." He's having
that makes sense to me. The only reason why I'm not on board 100% is because it would be different if her dad wasn't accessible to her. Yeah. But he's very readily accessible to her. Like, he wants to be around her.
But he's a playboy jet setter.
Sure.
The first introduction is on the phone. He's celebrating his birthday in Paris or something. So, and their closing moment is the marital situation is resolved and he comes to visit and she said, if next time you want to see me, just tell me. And he invites her to do something and she's like, I can't. But it's a nice, poignant kind of... melancholy moment about fathers and daughters, and the subtext, of course, that's very obvious is because Bill Murray, his character has the thing of stating these erroneous facts about things. She's wearing a bangle, as he calls it, and he talks about how that's a sign of her being property to somebody. And for his birthday present to her, he gives her a watch that she admired of his when she was a child, and she's wearing that watch. And then it's woven into the story, but Dean, Marlon Wayans, also buys her a watch and she replaces it, which is also kind of like a passing of ownership almost, strangely.
It all works. I think it's a well done film. The story does work. I just think my biggest gripe would be the characterization of Laura. She's just so... Rashida Jones is very bland to me, and then that character's very bland, and then Marlon Wayans is not doing anything. So it's like the Bill Murray show. Sure. Which I'm here for 100%. But... I mean, that's it. It's just like I would just recommend it to watch Bill Murray do his thing.
It was shot by her usual DP, Philippe Lesourd. I like the soundtrack by Phoenix. I do want to bring up the fact that Sofia Coppola I find to be a director that is very nervous or anxious when it comes to matters regarding race.
I don't know her work, so I can't say that, but...
She's a very white director. It obviously hailed from a very privileged perspective, but I think that I was kind of sort of oblivious to it until The Beguiled, which is my favorite Don Siegel film. But she remade it in 2017 with Nicole Kidman. And there's one black character in that, because it's set in the Civil War era, that she cut out completely, because she didn't want to deal with how she would need to address it, because I feel like she can't address it.
Well, do we know that? Like, she said that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow, okay.
She didn't want to address it. She had her excuses that weren't as blunt as what I'm saying, but which irritated me. And then it kind of made me reconsider because I haven't watched Virgin Suicides in forever and Lost in Translation in forever, and it kind of made me view her work under a different lens. But it's curious to know, like Marlon Wayans has nothing to do. Rashida, this felt like a response to the criticism she often receives, like, I'm just going to make what I make, but, you know, with black actors. And nothing is ever...
It's interesting you say that, because watching Rashida Jones, because her children are, they have very textured curly hair, these little black babies, and watching her do their hair, I was like, I bet she's never had to really touch hair like this.
Well, because I don't remember, we watched Black as Fuck, and I don't remember her being any different in that either, I guess.
I only know her from Black AF and obviously Parks and Rec, and so to me she's very similar in a lot of things, but she's fine.
She's fine. I warmed to her in this. I kind of liked it. The grandmother, notably, is played by Barbara Bain, who...
is stunning.
Yeah, she was in the Mission Impossible television series from the 60s.
Wow.
I think is what she's most known for. Also, shout out to Jenny Slate, who I always love to see.
Oh, yeah, she plays one of the parents at one of Laura's kids' schools, and she is like this overly chatty mom who's like telling Laura all her problems.
It's kind of, she's used in a way that Woody Allen uses certain people, like just for certain little flavors that are kind of repeatable.
Which I think is good for her. Jenny Slate should probably be in smaller doses.
I
like her.
I like her.
That damn movie about her and the artist.
The Sunlit Night. Well, that's not entirely her fault. But
anyway, what would you give this film?
I would give it 3 out of 5.
I would give it 3 out of 5 as well. Thank you.
Thanks.